All right. So in the last video, I have been talking about the benefits of meditation and yoga in my life, and how they can help us, or what has been written or what has been left for us, how we will discover that through this art of yoga. And also how it's come through my life and how it's revealed itself to me over the years in its own way. So I was talking about Tibet and that place of stillness that had a huge effect on me as a child, coming through the guidance that I had with my family. And I don't think any family is perfect, and I feel like every family has their struggles. So the reality of the sensitivity and the purity that we're all reflecting in this life, stillness is required. And so yoga gives us that opportunity to find that stillness, so that in the quieting of the mind, through different asana work, through different breathing work, there's a centering aspect where we'll think a little bit more before we react in situations. And every family life has different problems, that are affecting that part of our journey day in and day out. And those are the choices we make with what we consume, what we desire, and our personality, and what we're repressing. So the art of yoga leads to the art of all the other arts that I've seen from the Ascendant Masters, where if we have attained the art of witnessing through our breath and observing our breath in yoga, observing our stillness in the asana, we will tend to have more qualities that are less harmful to each other and to ourselves, because we're taking care of the body, mind, spirit. My journey in discovering aspects of how this can change your life, or how it's changed my life, it's led me through intense awakening with divine source. My curiosity is to be open to all aspects of consciousness, where the beauty of ancient wisdom reveals another taste for me, that is very fulfilling for my soul in its journey with liberation of this body mind. And just like playing soccer or playing tennis, if it's done with a pure intention and it's something that excites us, we discover a part of ourselves as an individual, pure, fun, real, loving. Now, the problem is when we start to compare or compete against each other, and then if the ego gets involved, versus being playful. Ego, we need to have an individuality, but ego, we find in the practice of yoga, while doing the work with yoga, the ego decreases in its place where it can be for individuality, not to harm and not to go against each other. So in the aspects of the 8 limbs of yoga that I was chatting about, those have shown up in my life predominantly all through my life, through the good and bad. And why I want to stress on sharing those things is because breathing techniques and physical fitness all have a connection to our internal journey. We work with life and we try to understand life with each other, and our sensitivities towards these emotions of love and consciousness that we are sitting in, are affected through the different aspects of the harshness of life and what I would call the strength of life or the grace of life. And so balancing those all the time, we're in a world where we're so highly competitive that grace and utilizing strength with grace, most of the time are getting lost in our interactions. Even we're more in our mind in the robotic aspect of survival than we generally are in flow with life. And so here's another way that yoga can show up in your life and be very beneficial for you to keep you in flow. Now, being highly competitive and having, more and more, where is it all going, and how much of it can be used, and how much of it is creating happiness? If it's creating happiness for many people, then I say yes, allow the expansion of all great ideas to expand. When it's not creating happiness for an individual, and that individual is not content in utilizing their energy and their intelligence to help serve, love, and co-create, I think that's where we as humans, we fail. So not to judge and not to say that I have all the answers, because my only answer has come into a place of nothing in the deepest aspects of meditation and what it's revealed to me. Nothing into something means, what do we use with our consciousness? Now, discovering the consciousness within us, there is some relaxation required so that we can slow down enough to observe inside. Well, looking at the limbs of yoga, we can see some of the ancient wisdoms that have been left for us, that have helped us reach this place of samadhi. Now, I think coming to the end of what I've reached on this journey with yoga is very important to share first. And why? While I was doing my 500-hour teacher's training course, and I've been on this journey of reaching samadhi for years, I knew that that was a way to get people to stop their mind in order to understand the need for grace with creativity and action of our divine powers that we have. How does that help the community, and how does that help each other? It creates a more loving atmosphere. It creates a more connected atmosphere and a more trusting atmosphere of maintaining and taking care of Mother Earth. And those are my awarenesses with the wisdom of life. Now we're looking at what the 8 aspects are. The 8 aspects that we're looking at with yamas and niyamas, the social restraints and moral codes of yoga. So the Yoga Sutr describes 5 different yamas, including ahimsa, nonviolence, asteya, non-stealing, satya, truthfulness, aparigraha, non-possessiveness, and brahmacharya, celibacy or fidelity. These are all explained in their own way of each individual's comprehension of it while they're on the journey with samadhi. Because when we reach samadhi in stillness, when I'm sitting after doing breathing, after I'm doing asana work, after I'm working with life and what life is presenting to me, these aspects start to happen naturally. And that's why I always want to teach samadhi first before I teach the other aspects, is because if I can get you into a samadhi state, that state will start to allow us to observe in life why we don't want to be violent. Why should we be unnecessarily violent? If it is for protection, or if it is confusion between humans, yeah, that's why we need it. But at the same time, we have unnecessarily created so much violence, and violence unknowingly also. So that's why we need to observe more and communicate better, so that perception about violence or perception about sharing strong aspects of each other, depending on culture or race, that we have an understanding about violence in many ways. So there's still a lot in that topic of understanding, but coming to a state of stillness, when the body is still, the mind is slowed down, and we're vibrating more consciously. This is what I call samadhi. A lot of these characteristics will naturally happen for us by nature. So obviously we'll have more appreciation to what we have and taking care of it. Then in samadhi, we'll be using our conscious mind to create. So whatever we've learned in school, whatever we've learned from life, we will appreciate the knowledge that we have to create and to use our intellect to be a part of society. So non-stealing will happen naturally. Truthfulness, the truth will set you free, because it has power enough to always give you a happy life, and it has power enough to help you connect with each other authentically, but also to receive each other authentically. Because when you're truthful to yourself, even somebody's doing bad on you, That's their bad that they're doing on you. You're taking care of your karmas and your karmic patterns by being good to yourself. Aparigraha, non-possessiveness. Now, possessing anything, depending on what we need to possess, because there's certain things we need to possess, possession of anything is a temporary experience with life because things are coming and going. Relationships, like being possessive in a relationship, it doesn't allow the flow of grace and fun and purity. It actually makes us uncomfortable to feel a heaviness that comes over us that is only through the suffering, or is mostly through the suffering of any individuals that have to possess each other. So we learn these qualities through doing Samadhi. In the yamas of social restraints, a lot of these things will come up for us. And celibacy would be, not overindulging. It doesn't mean that we don't have a natural nature in us to make love to our partners. But divinely speaking and sacredly speaking, everybody needs to be held and to be considered valuable on this journey with their body, mind, and soul in each interaction long term, that by not overindulging in certain acts with our growth, we actually will come to be really and generally appreciated deeper. And so I've seen that in relationships. I've seen that with myself. I've seen it with experimenting with life and men, and being open to all areas of growth spiritually and intimately. I found when I dropped more into my Samadhi states and I was more in peace and flow, and I was offering that love to others, the other big troubles of possession and like trying to control things in relationships, they just drop from your life. So they're like hidden mysteries, these yamas and niyamas and the 8 limbs of yoga. They're actually hidden mysteries that are helping your life to become a more beautiful, loving, compassionate life. The niyamas also that are here are observances. So as we go over the 8 limbs, and coming back to the original talk that I have, and the importance of how this can help your life, is that in every interaction, the divine is there. So what are we selling? What do we have to sell? What has been made in abundance that flow cannot take care of? And why can't we just trust flow? Because when we're showing up with authentic flow, authentic connection to our consciousness, authentic connection to the opportunity to have this life, this beautiful life, then we come into reflecting that with others, and we're actually meeting the divine there more and more and more in each other. And that's why I stress on sharing these yamas and niyamas and all the 8 limbs. Is there's something miraculous that has come out of yoga and the ancient wisdom of it. These sutras and the qualities we've already learned. Even in business, when we want to keep our business active, it needs to be clean. So satya, cleanliness; contentment, santosha; the tapas, self-discipline. We all need all of them. In what areas do we find that we're happy with all this? Are we happy with what we're doing? That's the more important thing. So in business life, if you want to reflect to the niyamas, are you choosing to be happy where you are? Are you happy doing what you're doing? Do you need to re-educate yourself and to do new things, because life is full of creation? And those are reminders I bring through with yoga, because yoga is a lifestyle. Yoga is a connection to ourselves through breath, through exercise, through movement, and then through meditation practices, where everything in life should get better. And it can get better because these things happen naturally. And the grace of the divine just effortlessly falls into alignment with us. And when it's not, that's where self-mastery comes into play. We start to consider, are we in the right place? Because the nature of the yamas and niyamas, or even connection to yourself and self-love, is if you're being treated or mirroring somebody who's loving themselves. If it's not happening, then there is something out of alignment, and it's something to consider for yourself, to come back to self-love and do more yoga. Ishvara Pranidhana, surrender to the higher power. So is that something natural for a lot of people? What does the higher power mean to everybody? My reflection on having exposure to all the ascended masters and the void of all things is to never leave a door closed for experiencing and allow the consciousness from within us to guide us. And so my journey coming home into a pathway with all ascended masters and recognizing my higher calling with Shiva, that gift of the unknown is like the truth of it all is the light of the divine that I've seen through all of it. But the essence and the strength of it all that calls me is a liberation process that knowledge and wisdom, like yoga, has presented to me. So I'm willing to go on this experiment. I'm willing to go through these doors to see, what do I see about myself every day? What am I learning about my mind? What am I learning about dissolving into nothing? What am I learning about creating the life that I love? And so surrendering to the higher power is something naturally that just happens with yoga. And so that's just the quieting of the mind. But that's the 8th pillar of the whole process. And coming back to these pillars, like with asanas. So we have our asanas. They emphasize the importance of caring for the body, developing the discipline to advance spiritual growth. Now, opening our bodies, even if I'm just opening my body, we know our heart is here. Now I'm going to breathe in. Now, naturally, I'm looking to do this, either to myself or somebody else. There's something beautiful about the positioning of the body and opening the body and stretching the body and breathing into the body and activity that actually just creates more happiness and more love. So the spiritual growth on that area with asana work would be the connection to nothing in Samadhi. And then coming back into appreciation in the room, coming back to appreciation with all the things that we have already. We're just getting too busy with so much abundance that simplicity is needed at times, and yoga helps us to simplify. So the next slide, we have pranayama. We've talked about the stretching, just like this simple movement. I know my heart's open, I'm receiving, but then while I'm breathing in there, I'm connecting. I'm connecting to this greater part of nothing. I'm connecting to this greater discovery of life force energy, because without breath, there's no life. So the use of pranayama consists of breathing techniques that can reduce stress and improve physical and mental health. In pranayama, you focus deeply on breath control through inhalation, breath retention, and exhalation patterns. So another thing in control and discipline is if I hold my breath, am I holding it with anxiety or am I holding it with strength? So that's a control. Oh, that's a release. And all these things are happening naturally with the nature of the elements that we are as humans. And so the breath has a huge effect on our overall happiness. We increase it in the gym. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. And then you come out of a really great workout and you're like, yeah, I feel great. Why? Because it's life force energy giving you more life energy. And it's more energy to make more life happen with more things, more beauties, more appreciation. So that's our pranayama aspect in yoga. Pratyahara, withdrawal. Pratyahara is disengaging your mind from external disturbances and controlling your reaction to them. During pratyahara, your 5 sense organs will detect external stimulation, but you don't allow them to disrupt your state of mind. So this is actually a very helpful reminder, but we are doing it naturally. We're practicing it naturally because, like, my son had an injury the other day, and there's been a couple injuries. There's been a lot of things happening recently. And so depending on my state, did I control my emotions to be there as a compassionate, loving space, or in samadhi state flow in those moments? I'm not perfect. I have my moments where I'm just like, come on, make better choices, right? So two things are happening here with this aspect in yoga is that we're disengaging your mind from external disturbances. So the practice of that can actually help situations where you don't react, that you respond. And yoga is creating that flow so that we can respond to each other more versus reacting, and less wars, more love. Feeling that, right? So the practices are there. We're working through it. We're bettering ourselves every day. The information is clear that there are ancient things that have been written that are actually very helpful and beneficial for us for a lifestyle, an overall lifestyle. This is lifestyle choices. Dharana is concentration. So the goal of it is to bind your consciousness to one particular object, place, or idea. Focusing your attention on one thing helps quiet your mind by closing off a path for other thoughts to seep in. So the concentration aspect, I see two areas to this in yoga, because forcing concentration will pull us towards something. But if we want to help quiet the mind, we have to observe as we concentrate. So if I'm observing through concentration, then I'm not hankering towards the negative aspects. Then I'm aware, I concentrate, I look there. Okay, but I'm observing that inner witness at the same time so that I'm not executing the demands of what concentration can do on good or bad, because in the bad, if we're concentrating on bad, it can become affecting us. If we're observing good or bad, then it's just passing through. And this is a great method, a great reminder when we're stuck with the hardships of our day in and day out interactions and what the mind has created with fear, anxiety, worry, stress. If we've seen things have always worked out for us, that's the right state of mind. That's a yogic state of mind that trusts in the universe always working out for itself. Now, when you get stuck in concentrating on the negative that's happening, why I say inner observer, because the bad that may not need so much attention can accumulate more time in our life that is not giving us a fulfilling, joyful state. And so that's how I would talk through dharana. Dhyana meditation is similar to dharana, except during dhyana, you reach a state of being where you are so completely immersed in your meditation that it becomes a part of your consciousness. Now, this is where we're getting very close to Samadhi. So meditation is what is allowing us to drop into that state of no mind, to drop into a Samadhi state where the body is just preparing itself for another moment. We know about it in sleep, like REM. And so naturally in sleep, we just lay down, restored. All negative thoughts of yesterday don't come into today. Hopefully not. And hopefully we're not putting those attention on that, because it's truly not genuinely serving us to have more negative thoughts into any day of this life, because this life is such a gift. When meditation allows us to have a method to reach a state, we then lead ourselves into a bliss, a sense of enlightenment. And that higher state would be our perception of experiencing what our body feels like when I'm sitting. Now, looking within, what's Samadhi all about? All the cells in my body are relaxed. All of the energy flow that flows through my body that gives me movement, momentum, thought, energetic. We get more used to feeling the subtleness of how the mind's working by observing the mind, how the body needs to move or it needs a hug. It will tell us, I need to be touched. I need to be held. Your body has a way of talking. I want to dance. I want to move. Now, we've been exposed visually to what life is given to us through observation of what life is all about to make us happy or to feel happy and contentment. That's also another aspect of the mind that we're sensitive to in our Samadhi state that plays a role in taking a chance to fully let go of that. All of the needs become to zero when we're in Samadhi. So everything slows down. No movement, no thoughts. Breath, awareness. So what Samadhi is generally doing for us is giving us that reflective pillar of strength to bring us through all the other aspects with life. And how do we generally get to know why we need this balance with a Samadhi state and then with life? Life starts to present to us the ideas of what we're creating through our mind. We all fall and we rise. So life gives us that glimpse that say, well, where can I go where I don't fall and rise? That I just am. There's a isness, a beingness. That's in our Samadhi. And so doing the work with breath, doing the work with asana, doing the work with peak poses, and like just using the body mind, they connect so that we drop into Samadhi to give us a method with all the other aspects of life that we need to do and take care of to balance. And so the discipline of yoga genuinely offers balance to your life. That's what it's doing. So talking about those 8 limbs, and having this long journey that I've had with yoga, the natural awakening in Samadhi started to wake up on my journeys in reflecting places and circumstances where the essence of Samadhi was being preserved. The Tibetan temples. The feeling of light that I experienced in sitting into a state of meditation. That joy of even my childhood with Jesus reflected in those places because it was the immense light and purity. The aspect of my experience was different because I was in a sitting posture versus the child running around, trusting in the blessings of Jesus. So however yoga works for anybody, I see a full spectrum of all ancient wisdom tying into a perfect methodology to help us with life become more sacred, become more loving, become more blissful, become more open. And ideally, yoga should be taught to be unconditionally open. There's a lot of masters that, and gurus that will ask you to come towards them so they can offer you some gifts. But that's part of the mystery school. Every master has been an unmastered before. And so if we're unmastered and we want to master and we want to be with people with more light, we got to remember that every master has come to help us find what they have found. They're not looking for us to take something from them that we don't already have. They're only knocking on our door to remind us of what we have and what we are and our potential of Satchidananda, cosmic bliss, Samadhi. And those are the ancient words of yoga that reflect the light that I saw in Jesus, the light that I saw in all the disciples of Jesus, in the archangels, in humans at times, obviously. How we can relate to it with the unknown is that we're seeing light in different people, different magnitudes of it, more oxygen in certain people, more life-affirming energy, and more relaxation in certain people. And we find our way to balance this miraculous adventure with the mystery school of life. Life is a school, continual school. Now, pain and suffering through different times in our life are rooted from the beginning sufferings, or what people want to show us right now, ancestral sufferings, the accumulated suffering of collective also. So there's many areas when we are sensitive and receptive to what we are learning and what we're unlearning, generally need to consider that this is something that is all connected to all living beings. Because the soul knows. It just wants pure love. It just wants that Samadhi state. It just wants to share those things. So this is a method. Yoga is the method to ride the wave with life, using asanas, breathing, peak poses, ancient text and information about it to get you to the place where Samadhi helps you through the desires for life and the things that you want from life to flow in a loving, relaxed way. Hope you like this talk. I think I've talked your ears into wonder with this beautiful talk, and it's going to be my journey with the 8 limbs. More coming soon. I thank you for sharing if you are watching, and I'm encouraging you to tap into yourself, get turned into yourself, and share your legacy, share your truth, share the things that changed your life into a best possible version of yourself. Namaste.